Alright, we got a nice looking app, or at least it's getting there. Okay, we got our navigation working between our three fragments. Of course, you can add more fragments, and eventually we'll put this register behind the login, and we'll have some other stuff down here. But right now we want it so that we can click on it. So, oh, look at that. Anyways, so you can click on these and they'll change for you. So the next thing that we want to do is we're going to go to our register page and we're going to do a little bit of design. Now, some things that you need to know about this is the different layouts. Now you can come into Android Developer and go through these layouts. There's a lot of stuff that I don't want to spend time covering, but basically you got a linear layout, which is basically you can lay them out horizontally or you can lay them out vertically, and you have to specify in linear layout if you're going to do horizontal or vertical. Relative layout, basically depending, it'll just lay right next to the other one if it's got room. So depending on the width, if you do like wrap content, if you got enough room, it'll just keep laying out to the right. And of course you got other layouts. You got list view, grid view. I don't know if you've seen it up here, but you got a web view. You got the frame layout. Like I say, there's a bunch of different things. We're going to mainly be working with the linear and the relative layout because those are the two that I know best and they work for me. And then it just comes down to putting them in whatever looks good for you. So we're going to go back over here and we're going to go into our register layout. Alright, so we're going to get rid of this. We don't want this text view anymore. And if we run our app, when it comes back up, when we click on register, there shouldn't be anything there now. And you don't have to run this check, but I'm just showing you the little things, because as you do things, it does change the app. Alright, so we're in here. So got login. If I click on account, got that. If I click on register, nothing, because we took the text view out. Login, got the login. Alright, so we're going to go in here, we're going to do some design. Alright, so we're in our fragment register XML file because we're going for a look right now, and where I usually like to start is the footer, or what I call the footer, and it's at the bottom where you got your button. You're going to have your button that says register. Right above that you're going to have a little thing that says already have an account with a question mark and then space and then click here, and if you click there, it's going to take you back to the login page because you already have an account. And if not, you click on the register, you fill in your information, which we'll get to that in a little bit, and then you click on the register button. But we're starting with the footer right now, and we're going to get that all set up and programmed, and then we'll come back in the next video and actually set up the places where we're going to be gathering, like your username, your email, and password. Alright, but let's take a look at this. So remember, we had a relative layout, and from this linear layout button, or I should say tag, all the way down to this linear layout tag was where we had the text for that said register. Alright, we got rid of the text. Now we're in here. So what I've done is I created a linear layout, and basically I have one linear layout inside this linear layout with two text views laying on top of a button. And I'm giving this an ID, which I will explain later why we have that ID. but you got to give it an orientation. We got it vertical because we want this to lay on top of the button. And I've got it aligned to the bottom of the parent, so it's going to be forced to the bottom of the page. And then this linear layout, okay, and of course this is match parent because I want it to be all the way across, and this is wrap content because I don't want it to be as high as the page. I want it to be at the bottom of the page and just fit the content that's in there. But like I say, on this one, I've got it set up for a horizontal because I've got two text views that I want to lay next to each other. I want to have it where it says already have an account, question mark, with a space, and then click here, and I want that to lay right over here. Alright, so I've got this centered horizontally. You use layout gravity or gravity. I mean, there's a few different things, but layout gravity will center it horizontally, hopefully. I've got it margin bottom 15 dp, which we'll get into the dp. dp is like how far, if you want it, you know, like margins, padding, things like that. SP is the size of your characters, and we'll get into more of that later. Okay, so, and then I gave this an ID because when you click on it, or you click here, we're going to do something with it. So we're going to have to call on it. And then, of course, I give it a text color for a link, and it shows you the text color over here. So you can, if you don't like that color, you can mess around and use a different color. But that's about the color of a link, if I remember right. Alright, and then it's going to lay on top of a button. The button is going to go all the way across the page, match parent, and the height is going to be as big as the characters, which we set to text size 30 SP. And I gave it an ID because, of course, we're going to do something with it when you click on it. Text, it's going to say register in the button, and I've got the text align center. So we'll take a look at what this does, and like I say, design is something you just got to mess with. You got to go in and you got to figure out, you know, what you want to do, how you want to do it. If you use linear layout, some things work, like this align parent bottom works with linear layout. Not so much with relative layout. They have other ways of forcing it to the bottom with relative layout. So those are things that you're just going to have to mess with to figure out. Alright, so let's take a look at it. Let's run it. And the good thing is, because you want your stuff to look alike, your pages. So when I come over here and I say okay, so I got already have an account, click here. So when we click there, like I say, it doesn't do anything right now because we haven't done any programming, but it will take us back to the login page, which I click down here in case you didn't catch that. But anyway, so that's what's going to happen when we click there. And then over here, when you click register, it's going to gather all of our information and do something with it. Right now, it just, you know, doesn't do anything. Alright, so let's go back in here, and we're going to go ahead and program these two buttons. So for that, since we're in our register fragment, we're going to program it in our register fragment. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to implement OnClickListener. Alright. And you see this red line. We implemented it, but we didn't put any methods in there for it. So click on it. We're going to put an OnClick method in there, and there we go. So you got an OnClick method, which we're going to move it down Don't forget to grab the override. We're moving down to the bottom of our page. All right. So now we need to declare a couple variables. We've got view v, which I'll explain that in a little bit. We got a text view and a button. And the button's red because it hasn't been implemented yet. So if you click over here, you'll see a thing says click Alt Enter. So if you hit Alt Enter, it should import anything that you need for it. There may be other issues, but usually with buttons and stuff, that's all you got to do is Alt Enter. Alright, so because remember we have a text view in there and we have a button, and we're going to call it button go to login and button register. So these are the variables that we declared, and of course you can name these anything that you want. Now when you get down here in the onCreate view, now I'm going to assign v equals, and I'm going to cut this whole line out here. Control X is cut. I'm going to put the V there and place that there, and don't forget to put semicolon at the end. But do that because we're going to be using that V, and I'd rather use V than view every time. So now we got to assign our variables up here to their respective IDs. So the way you do that is you go button, and it doesn't matter what order they go in. I usually try to put them in the order that they appear on the page. So, and that's going to equal, and you're going to have to cast it so it is a text view. Even though we're treating it like a button, it is a text view. And you have to get that right, because if you don't, you're going to have errors. And basically we've got to call the view, and then we got to find by ID, find view by ID, and everything starts with the R, ID, and button go to login. Don't forget your semicolon at the end of the line, and we got to do the same thing with our button register, and we're going to call equals. This is a button though, so we're going to cast it to button, and the view, remember we assign it to the variable v, find view by ID, r.id dot button register, and don't forget your semicolon. Alright, now that's good, but we've got to make sure that those variables have an OnClickListener. So we're going to go to button, go to login, dot set OnClickListener, and for this page. Okay, and button register, same thing, dot set OnClickListener, and this for this page. So when they're clicked, it's going to put them down here, assign it to your OnClickListener, and we got the OnClickListener up there. And what we're going to do, you remember that set case, what was it, the case switch or switch case? So I'm going to create two things down here, a switch case and an else if statement, and show you that they both work. You can use either one that you want, whatever you're more comfortable with. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll talk about it. Alright, so we got a switch case statement and an else if statement. Now, as I say, either one of them will work. I guess looking at them, probably the least code would be the else if statement, even though I kind of like the switch case statement. Doesn't matter which one you use, and we're going to show you both right now. Okay, with the switch, which is the first one we're going to use, you get the view v.getID, so we have to get the ID, and you got case, so that's your first case. If it's this ID button register, you're going to make a toast, which I'll show you what a toast is here in just a minute, and it's going to say register. If it's the second one, go to login, it's going to do a toast and say go to login page. Alright, so let's go ahead and get rid of the if statement down here so that we're only using the switch case statement. And we're going to run it and bring it over here. Grab our phone. Alright, so the bottom button, it's going to say register. If we click on that little text, go to login, it's going to print go to login. Okay, so we'll go over to our register page. Alright, so we're clicking here where it says click here. Now this is where it says go to login, and a toast is this next little thing that's going to pop up when I click on it. Right there, go to login page. That's called a toast. If you click on register, it's going to say register. Alright, so that is working. That switch case is working. Now let's go back over here, undo our delete, and we're going to delete the switch case and run it again. So now we have the if else if statement. Now what it says in this one is if V is equal to button register, which is basically button register is the ID of button register. Okay. Else if V is equal to button go to login. Of course, we've already pointed to where it's at up here, and the scope, because we've got it outside of all of these, so it's available in all of these. If we would have put it inside the OnCreate view, it would not be available down here. Alright, so let's go check it out. We've run it with that. Go over to our register page. We click here. Should say go to login. And it does. And then register. Register. Okay. So on that note, let's undo it. On that note, use whatever you want there. It does not matter. They both will work. I'm going to stick with the case switch statement. I'm sorry, switch case statement. And I don't know if you've seen that red on there. You got to make sure you don't delete too much. So I deleted one extra curly bracket there. So I wound up it wouldn't work. Okay, so we get back. Just going to test it one more time. And then we'll end this video because we've got good navigation on both them buttons. Alright, so go to login and register. Alright, we'll see you in the next video.